Bet. Shav, today we're going to need some focus. It's not hard. It's just simple math. Okay?
Yeah.
Simple math. It's really not so hard. Baruch Hashem, today we have resources, which is tremendous. Yesh lanu pictures all over. If you look in the Gemara, you're going to see a lot of pictures today.
Mm-hmm.
The complication, I'll tell you just before we start, is there's the old pictures and there's the new pictures. Sometimes they're not exactly the same, and I'll point out where they're not exactly the same, and we'll try to figure out what the pshat is exactly. But the kids here, we're going to have two sections today. We're going to learn first on Machloket Rav Shmuel, if the case of our Mishnah of Aruga is by itself, in a makom of charuva, of emptiness, or if it's in a ben arugot, if it's amongst the other bechorba, or if it's ben arugot. Second thing we'll get to, B'ezrat Hashem, if we have time, we'll explain a little more detail in this case, is if you have a telen cutting through, if that perhaps ruins the situation, or if that's also acceptable. We'll get to that later. Just before we start, let's remember what we're discussing over here. We had in our Mishnah, the simplest understanding is, what is the maximum amount of seeds, plants, minim shonim, that you could put in the smallest amount of space? This was what we were trying to figure out in the Mishnah. Okay, this was a simple thing. So we said, kepshuto, we said like this. Not a square, but it's good.
It's a square, we understand.
I want to make this as clear as possible today, because it is, no, this is a lot. Is that the shit? A patch. So it's a garden patch. So we said, this was the simple pshat in the Mishnah, is that if it's 6 by 6 tfachim, you would be allowed to have 5 minim shonim in this space. How do you have 5 different species? So we explained, on each side, you could fill it up just till the corner, velo ad bechlal. Okay? And in the middle, you could have a 5th species. Now let's just speak out again why. You have to use the klalim. We have klalim here that we're going to follow. Let's try to follow the klalim because it's going to be important for today. The halacha is, as long as it doesn't look like kilayim above the ground, we're not worried that it's yonek from the same place. But if it looks like kilayim above the ground, then we are worried that it's yonek from the same place below. What does it mean it looks like? Looks like as if it's going in the same direction. If it's going in a different direction, it looks different already. We're not worried about that. Based on that, let's just say this is the north, south, east, and west. It's funny because that's how Rashi's pictures go. I don't know why he does it that way. I would have said north, south, east, and west.
And he say?
Rashi says north, south, east, and west. He just uses this as north. We'll just take that.
We can take it like, like South Beach, North Beach now.
Yeah, I don't know why he does that, but let's just stick with it because it's easy to follow along in the pictures. So now, the way that we're going to understand this means if it's like you're looking at this way.
West and east, okay.
So the way we're looking at it is that there's no problem of this telem and this telem, this species and this species being less than 3 tefach. Sorry, I skipped a step. We said the yanika of a plant is usually a tefach and a half. So that means if you would have plants that look like they are similar together, but they're not nikara separate, you would need 3 tefachim separating them. So we explained the reason that this picture is the minimum space, maximum usage, is because from this species to this species, you don't need 3 tefachim. Why don't you need 3 tefachim?
2 different directions.
It's nikar that they're 2 separate types, they're 2 separate pieces, and therefore that's not a problem.
So the corners are less than 3 tefachim?
Exactly, this doesn't have to be 3 tefachim. But from the side to the middle, which is parallel to each other,
3 tefachim.
You only put garin echad, you put 1 seed in there. Why do you only put 1 seed? Because there needs to be 3 tefachim, and that's why 6 by 6. Now the last thing we said yesterday was the kula, the heter of this field, is where the tefach walking space around it is outside of the 6.
Otherwise it's less. But I didn't understand what Matan asked yesterday. If let's say that I put this tefach of shvil inside the 6, how I minimize my 6? It's still 6, and it's still the same
Where are you
distance.
planting? No, if it's the same distance, it's fine. But that's not the normal thing. That's not how you plant.
Okay,
You walk around it. It's just,
okay.
it's just
Okay, okay.
It's not gonna walk in your
You can't really walk on 6 on 6 טפחים.
It's
No.
very
זה
small.
דבר כזה,
He's
יוחאי.
right, he's right, he's
זה
right.
הקובייה הזאת.
So it's around it. עכשיו, now listen to this. This is what we're going to get into today. When we talk about this patch in the Mishnah, is it ben arugot or is it not ben arugot? Dahainu, this is what Rav and Shmuel are going to discuss now. Are we talking about a scenario where this garden patch is next to 8 more of the same thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The same thing with 8 more around it.
Patches like that. Of
Exactly,
6.
exactly. Or is this only allowed when it's not part of a nine patch
Only
formation?
allowed what?
Oh.
Only allowed what?
So let me just start off and I'll explain and you'll understand. How much is the distance between this patch and the end of the walk space? What's the difference? It's tefach. As im samta next to it, the same thing,
יש לו גם טפח.
you would have one more tefach and then you'd have another plant.
So basically, you're gonna say it's less than 3.
So it's a problem.
אבל
Because
למה
it's
זה
less-
problem?
One second.
Maybe
It's a
not.
problem
Maybe
because
not.
why? Why is it a problem?
Less than 3.
It's less than 3 tfachim,
But-
but they're going in the same direction. So therefore, as we said, if they're parallel to each other, it has to be 3 tfachim separate because they can't, if they look on the surface similar, it can't be yonek below from the same
But this-
area.
This
So let me
different
just explain
6
for a
is
second.
become.
So therefore, what the Gemara is going to discuss here is, would this be allowed, what we just discussed, within a 9 square formation, dahainu beina arugot, the same thing, or would it have to be bechorba? Now, really chorba, it means it would just have to be distanced farther. Chorba means an empty area, but it means you would have, if you want to plant more, you'd have to distance it significantly. It wouldn't be in a normal way the same thing replicated 9 times, multiplied by 9.
think so, it's
that
okay.
wouldn't be allowed. And what would you argue?
I think so, it's okay.
Why would it be okay?
Because although there's less than 3 tfachim between the seeds of this 6 and the other one, the nikaritz is a different section, you know?
Hold on.
The
Do you
same.
understand how small this is?
Yes.
We're not talking about a huge field.
ממני אליך
and then
זה יותר משש
You're talking
טפחים.
about 6 tefachim,
יותר
like,
משש
let's say
טפחים.
like this, whatever it is, this, and then it's literally right next to it.
But if you look at it mabat aviri,
Yeah, I understand.
it's
what
look
you're-
different, you understand?
Okay, so what you're saying, we're going to say a svara like that when it comes to fields. Fields, if you have one of the species is sort of going out of
Yeah.
it, it's not a problem. But here we're talking about a small space. It's not so bolet. It's not so obvious. It's very small area.
And if you put another 5, definitely it's gonna be so obvious.
Oh, but that's the halacha. Then it's not yonek. All it has to be is it's not yonek from the same area. Ivanta? The etzem, we're not so worried about the yanika. We're only worried about the yanika if on the surface it looks similar. What does it mean look similar? They're going in the same direction. But if it doesn't look similar, because bichlal it's, so we're not worried about the yanika. It could be closer. That's why this and this we're not worried.
But if you put it like that, let's say you put another patch of 9 right, of 6 right here.
Right here.
But this one, you see, the one close to this one,
This.
is a different direction.
This.
No, if you put another patch here, put another patch here, okay? Let's see. Put another patch here, okay? Exactly.
Okay, now what?
These seeds, the opposite direction of this one.
It's parallel. It goes in the same direction.
No, so you plant it in a different
Okay, so that's what
direction.
we're going to get into.
That's what I wanted to ask
That's
you.
what we're going to
So
try to get
here
into.
you have 2,
רביי,
but it doesn't look the same one.
רגע,
Do you
יש לי
understand?
שאלה.
רק להבין
כן,
את
אז,
זה. If it was like this, the same thing, you understand why it
It's
would
a
be a
problem.
Right.
So that's what we're going to try to get creative today and figure out how would you be able to maximize multiple patches without being parallel. This is what we're going to try to get into.
Parallel,
What
what's the
happened?
parallel?
Parallel means next to each other.
What
So
happened?
the same. Just understand the words. Parallel is like this. Perpendicular is like this. By the way, this is not a problem.
There's not a problem.
This is a problem.
Yes.
This is not. Perpendicular is not a problem. Parallel is a problem.
You have to design it so each
That's
corner.
the chokhmah. We're going to get into agriculture today.
מה קורה אם אני עושה את זה?
Excellent question. That's what we're going to get to. That's going to be exactly one
זה
of the
לא the
cases.
same direction.
In English, it's called staggering. Beautiful. That's much what we're going
זה
to get
אלכסון.
into. יפה מאוד. So now we're going to do the numbers.
That's my question.
This is
מה אתה עושה?
This is mamish we're going to get to.
אז
This
So if I
idea
still
is
have
we're
two
gonna get to
טפחים פה, מה קורה?
Beautiful, chazak. We're going to mamish get into that.
That's I think so. It's okay.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
So
Let's see.
different
We're going to see be'etzem, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but there might be a gezerah.
כי יש לך גם
חוץ מהגזירה, this actually
אבל
would
יש
be a
לך
great
גם את
option.
הקורנרס, אז מה, בגלל שזה...
This would be a great option.
אבל it's going also in the different direction.
Okay, let's see inside now. I just want to be clear. This is how we understood. Yeah, well, not like this, but like this is how we understood.
You can.
It's okay. No. I just want to be very clear because it's gonna. We understood the Mishnah like I just explained it, like this, where there's on each side not touching the corners with one in the middle. Rav is going to learn Pshat in the Mishnah a little bit differently, and because of the way he learns, he's not going to hold. He's going to say you can't put it immediately next to other patches. It has to be with separation. We'll see 3 tfachim. So it says the Gemara like this. Bottom pei Amarav.
מה רב?
Amarav, aluga b'choba shaninu. In the Mishnah we say you can set up 5 minim in 6 by 6 tfachim, like this. It's b'choba. Now again, choba doesn't mean that the whole area for 100 miles around it is empty. It just means you can't have other patches immediately around it in the same formation. Chuba doesn't mean you could only plant it in the desert, nothing nearby. It just means you're not allowed to have bein arugot in the same way. Why? Because then
It will look like it's going to a different direction.
There's not 3 tfachim separating. That's the simple pshat. Chuba means it has to be separated by 3 because if it's going in the same direction, you're going to have a problem of the within 3 tfachim issue. Lefi Rav. Aruga b'choba shanim. Okay, now this is going to be the question. I'm going to erase this and B'ezrat Hashem, let's do a little bit of a picture. Beautiful, beautiful. Matan Mamish was mechaven too. Take this.
מה קורה לך?
האוזניים.
ממה?
I should do smaller.
תדק את האוזניים כנראה.
So it's really a nice picture here.
שגע אותי.
שני האוזניים?
זאתי.
אתה מנקה אותם הרבה?
פעם ביום, אחרי אמבטיה.
3,
לא, חסך או משהו.
4, 5, 6,
נראה לי מניו יורק.
7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is the pnimit and those are bachutz. Let's see. Asks the Gemara.
So each one of them have between them 2 or 3 טפחים, according to the shita.
So like this. The way Rav says is it has to be makom choba. He would say you cannot set the ones around it up the same way you set the one in the middle up. There's only 1 tefach here and 1 tefach here. It's not acceptable. It's not mutar. You're not allowed to do that. That would be the normal thing.
And nothing to do with the way you set it up, according to Rav.
So far, we don't know exactly how Rav holds this is set up. All we know is that Rav is telling us you can't have the patches surrounding the middle one around it, immediately around it, which means b'chorba you'd have to distance 3 tefachim and then you could do what you want.
Okay.
V'ayika makom kanot asks the Gemara, but I'll tell you what you could do. Set up the places of the corners. So now comes Rashi, and Rashi says, I'll tell you an eitzah. Rav, what are you concerned about? You're concerned that the patch on the min on one side, and then let's say the min on the northern side of the middle one,
Gotta be too close.
and the southern side of the one next to it, to the north of it, are within 2 tefachim next to each other because there's only 1 tefach separating them. 1 tefach.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an eitzah how to set it up that each one could have 5 minim, and it's set up again only 2 tefachim, and you're not going to have an issue of being within 2 tefachim.
They put it here in pictures,
They
beautiful.
do a beautiful picture here. The art scroll does an even better picture if you look. That's in Rashi, but look at the art scroll. It's more mefurash. And he says, I'll give you an eitzah how you can solve this problem. Set up 5 minim in each one, and they're not going to be an issue of kilayim. So let me just explain how this works. You utilize the place of the corners for your benefit.
שתי וערב.
Exactly. So what does it mean?
ככה.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah.
Wow.
You utilize the place of the corners and stagger the plantings. Let me just explain how is this going to work.
איזה מחשבה יש פה?
It's a beautiful idea. Matan, you thought about it. So like this. What you do is you plant one min here in the corner, another min like this,
But it has to be significant direction.
3 like this, and 4 like this. Now why does this help you? Then
And
on
then
the other side, you do like this. Or
yeah.
And
You plant
like-
them to different directions.
like this. Now, what does this help at, Sim? Sorry, I forgot the one in the middle.
You will see a significant change in their direction.
Pshat, what's the pshat? How does this help, Sim? How does it help? What's this going to help you now?
It will go in the different directions.
So let's just.
So
let's
you
just-
want
the northeastern patch. The middle patch, the northeastern corner. It's going east. Okay. On the one
And
to
the
the
north
to the
one?
left of it, it's going north. That's perpendicular. Okay, it's perpendicular. Perpendicular is not a meaning. They're going in different directions. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not an issue. That could be even less than 2 tfachim. It doesn't make a difference. Not 3 tfachim. It's okay because it's nikar as 2 separate species above the ground, 2 separate things.
Okay.
So what's the potential problem we're going to have to deal with? Show us that for a second. This,
that they will go to the same
Corner.
direction.
the corner of the middle patch, northeastern and northeastern,
Northeastern.
of the one to the left of it are going in the same direction.
How?
These are, well, they're both going in the same direction.
אבל
One's a
לא
little
אחד
bit
מול
higher,
השני, no facing, no.
but they are going in the same direction.
But they're not facing each other. They're not facing.
They're not, well, they're not facing each other, but they are going in the same direction.
So
So Rashi addresses this and he says, it's still not a problem because they're not 2 tfachim next to each other. Why are they not 2 tfachim
אלכסון
next to
תמיד,
each other?
אלכסון הוא אסון.
Listen to this. This is a little bit.
אלכסון תמיד יותר ארוך.
Tosfot doesn't like this, but listen to what he says.
לא, זה שהיינו ילדים, אמרנו לנו לא לחצות באלכסון.
Just listen good.
Is it-
Because you're right.
וואו.
This is not up to halfway. The patch that goes northeast in the middle one, it goes before half. So let's say it's 2 tfachim. 6 altogether, so it's 2 tfachim. This is also 2 tfachim, which means the distance between the end of one patch, of one plant, and the other plant in the patch next to it is actually going to be more than 2 tfachim. It's actually, based on math, 2.24.
אבל זה
That's
עדיין
what
לא
it's going to
3.
be.
זה עדיין לא 3.
So what Rashi says is,
let's say it's 2 1/4.
therefore it's not a problem, Rashi says.
מקצת
Because
ככולו.
anyways, even
But how
though-
they formula?
half that they're going in the same direction,
But
it's
how-
not 2 tfachim.
But how the
למה?
formula?
מקצת השלישי זה כולו
Because
כאילו.
the alakson, the
Alakson.
hypotenuse, is always 1 2/5 multiplied by the sides. So therefore, there's going to be 1 tefach separating them. By 2 tefach, it's going to be 2.2.
But Rabbi, the way that you show it,
So the way Rashi learns
it's not
is,
2.2.
even though they're going in the same direction, it's not a problem. This would actually be acceptable because it's not 2 tfachim.
Yes.
Now, Tosfot comes and he says, 1 second, Rashi, but it's not 3 tfachim.
But one maybe
If you're worried that they're going in the same direction and therefore they have to be separated by Yenika, how would be separated by Yenika?
maybe once it's
3
above
tfachim.
maybe once it's above 2 tfachim.
Okay. It's enough. It's a speak.
I'm assuming.
Maybe that's the pshat in Rashi. We're going to go with Rashi.
But also maybe because it's more than 2 1/4, בעין it's already look more than 2. So, you know, because we said
Okay, I hear.
Because it's going, איך אתה אומר אלכסון?
הבעיה היא, אמרנו, what's the yesod is,
היניקה.
if they're going in the same direction, it looks connected to some degree. It looks like an irbuf. There you need the yanika to separate them. That's why Tosfot says to Rashi, I understand what you're doing with that, but it's still a little bit difficult because it's not 3 tfachim. But we could say what Matan just said, which is, perhaps it's close enough to 3 that it's not a problem of yanika anymore. It's like tzad kasheh. The Rishonim get into what Rashi's pshat is. Other Rishonim say a different pshat. But let's just go with Rashi.
איך אתה אומר אלכסון?
Hypotenuse, or it's called diagonal. Diagonal.
Maybe like Yochai say, באלכסון, when it's going diagonal, then it's look like 3 tfachim.
Okay, I can hear that. What you're trying to say basically is Af shezeh lo 3 tefachim. It's like 3
You know, in
tefachim
soccer, when he kicks sometimes,
yeah.
you think that the ball is coming to you or that the ball is going there.
I hear.
It's just going because you don't see it straight. You see it like that.
אני מקבל את זה חוק ולא יעבור, and that's fine. I have no problem. It's okay.
אני חושב שזה גם תוסף שזה גם לא ממש ככה, זה ככה.
It's not straight. It's going to be diagonal.
אז זה אולי, זה גם עוזר לנו.
Because this is 2 tefachim and this is 2 tefachim and this is 6.
I wonder how they reached to
זה עוזר
the...
לנו.
One tefach angle.
זה עוזר לנו.
כן.
תוספת שזה גם יותר משתיים וגם זה דיינג לנו.
Okay. Meaning, and then you could say, it's already close enough.
מה רש"י אומר?
Rashi says that's the pshat. That's why we're not worried about them being parallel to each other. Tosfot says, but if that's your concern, it's still not 3 tefachim. We're going to leave off a little bit difficult on that, but let's just continue. But what's the point the Gemara is asking? Rav, you're saying you can't have this aruga ben arugot. It has to be the chorba. But if you use this eitzah of kranot, is that you fill in the corners essentially, leaving over space, you could actually end up having 1 tefach on each side and having 9, 8 around the middle one, and each one has 5 minim. So why wouldn't you say that's the pshat in the Mishnah? Why does it have to be chorba shanu?
Yeah.
That's the kasha on Rav. Okay?
Yeah.
But I wonder if, let's say, from the south, the middle one in the south, and the middle one in the east. No, I'm sorry. No, in the yes. To the east one, the top one, the bottom. Yeah, no, the left one. Lemala. Yes. Okay, from here to here, there is more than 2 tfachim.
Okay, so let's say that's not an issue. We're trying to figure out from the middle one to the one surrounding it. That's what we're talking about. Bein arugot or not bein arugot. That's the question.
But if I have 1 and 1 here, from there, for sure there is more than 2 1/4 even.
Okay, I hear, but we're trying to focus on this one. Is this allowed to be amongst the other 8 or not? So Rav says not, because it's too close. The kasha the Gemara is asking is, if you set it up, bekarnayim, means you set it up in a way, kranot, that you fill in part of the side, but you leave open the rest of it, so then you could actually stagger the species and have them close to each other. It doesn't have to be chorba. Okay, that's the kasha on Rav. So why are you explaining the Mishnah b'chorba? Explain it like this. Okay, so let's see. Aruga b'chorba shani vayika makom kranot. Why don't you utilize the place of the corners, staggering them? Staggering means it's like bricks. It's a couple bricks. It's one and then one higher than it. So then you actually don't have them parallel to each other. And even the ones that are, as we explained, it's not 2 tefachim close to each other, as Rashi explained. So in the Beit Midrash of Rav, they said in the name of Rav, the reason Rav didn't learn that way is because he learned the pshat in the Mishnah is b'memaleh takranot. It's where you filled in the corners. So the way Rashi learns over here, and I'll explain to you Rashi, and I'll explain to you how there's machloket within what Rashi means. Rav didn't learn this is the pshat because Rav learned that you actually are putting the species the entire length of the northern side and the entire length of the southern side. So since you put it the entire length, you're planting the entire length of the northern side, the entire length of the southern side, you can't put one opposite in the other corner because that's pashut going to be within 2 tefachim. Memela Rav said it's going to have to be chorba. Rav learned that's pshat, is that the pshat in the Mishnah is you filled in, you didn't leave open any space on the north and south side. The Mela in the middle one, it was entirely filled in the north, entirely filled in the south, and that's why you can't have it ben arugot in the same way.
Rav doesn't somech that you don't fill up all the way. You take in the cheshbon, you fill it all the way, and then there's a problem.
That's pshat in the Mishnah, that's where you're going to fill up.
So מה החשש של רב? מה החשש שלו?
Is that within 2 tefachim? That's it.
But if I'm going into a different directions and it's going to be significant change, okay, but let's say that he is really calculated with the way that he's planting, as why? What's the reason?
You're asking why not do the other way, but hold on. Rav's learning, pshat in the Mishnah is, you filled in the northern side, you filled in the southern side. Now I want to just explain something that's not so clear in Rashi. There's 2 ways the Mefarshim learn Rashi. Im asita et zeh, Ken, how would you set up the other 3?
אם עשית את זה,
min echad, namaim עוד 3 מינים.
תראה לי, תסביר לי מחילה.
according to Rav, you did like this, you did like this, and this is all full of one species 2.
You
Now
can feel it.
the middle one stays the same, but what about the ones in the east and west? How would you feel
just
that?
1 and 1 in the middle. Because you have to keep in the you have 6. You take 1 and 1, so you have 4. If you put in the middle, so you have 3 for which side.
זה על הקו. Let's say,
okay.
it's on the line.
Hashma. There's a machloket in Pshat and Rashi. It's very interesting. Some of the Mefarshim learn, if you look at Rashi,
לא, בעצם רגע, כמה לקחת? no.
תסתכל ברש"י.
לא, תסתכל פה, יוחאי.
Look at the picture of
את הצורה הזאת.
Look at the picture of Rashi. Don't look at that.
Which
look
one?
at the picture of Rashi.
Which one?
Look at Rashi, the bottom picture on the page.
פה?
Okay. What does it look like Rashi is saying?
אחד.
It
לא,
sounds
זה
like
לא אחד,
Rashi's-
זה נראה כמו שתי טפחים
Look at what
בערך.
Rashi is saying. Oh no, look what Rashi is saying. What does it sound
The
like?
bottom one, right?
אחד.
The east and west is the same as the middle.
Yes, אחד.
Which means the way Rashi sounds like, if you look at it, is that you put one garin here and one garin here like the middle one.
Yes.
Right.
Meaning if you fill the north and south,
Exactly.
you're not allowed to put more than one garin,
Gonna be less
just
than
like
3.
the middle.
Gonna be less than
Just
3.
like the middle.
Yes.
But according to the picture, we see the same picture, Rabbi?
Very
It's
good.
the same picture.
It's less than 3 טפחים.
There's a machlok. No. Again, remember in the Mishnah how we learned it was on the sides, and this
So we
was
start from
considered
the middle.
separate from the middle one.
But
the
we
three
start from the
tefachim.
middle, right?
The middle to the edges is 3 tefachim. So the top and bottom to the edges, you'll argue, should also be 3 tefachim.
I got it.
Okay, so that's how some Mefarshim learn Rashi. Other Mefarshim learn that's not the Pshat in Rashi. Actually, the top and bottom, you'd be allowed to have it bigger than 1 garin. Now, why would that be? Because it's going in a different direction. So the etzem, its nikar is a separate thing. So the etzem, you could have, 2 tvachim, or mashu kazeh, as long as there's a little bit of a separation. This is such a machloket within Rashi.
It's really
Very interesting, the discussion here, how this comes out. Let's not get into this right now, but the bottom
It's
line
such a
is...
delicate case.
But the bottom line is, the way we're answering for Rav is the reason it can't be Bein Arugot in the normal way is because you're filling in the north side and the south side, and therefore it would be within 2 tfachim of the ones around.
But in that
That's
way,
what
of
now let's get
course.
to your question, Matan. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, V'lizra me'avrai, v'lo limalu megavai. Why not learn,
מה זה נבזר מהווי?
plant outside of it, means plant the 8 around it like you were trying to say before, ולא למעלה מגבי, and don't fill it
אל
in on
תמלא
the
אל
inside.
תמלא את כל הצדדים, תעשה את זה
Don't fill
חלקי.
it in on the
שחק
inside.
בהם.
Means back to the question
לא הבנתי,
basically.
לא הבנתי.
Rav, why are you learning that it's where you filled in the north and filled in the south? Plant the ones around it and make it stacked like we were saying before. למה אתה רוצה להגיד פשט in the Mishnah is that you filled in the north and the south and then you're not allowed to plant around it. Plant around it like you were saying before. How do you fill in the 5 minim? Like this. Meaning, don't do it like this. We're asking is, don't do it like this. Instead, do it as we were trying to show before, the kranot, and then fill it in as we were trying to say. Should be pshat in the Mishnah.
I think so, yeah.
Why are you learning like that?
I think so, yeah, you understand the sechel of the guy that walk in the field. He gonna fill up everything, he gonna use the whole space.
The Gemara is
You
going to
understand
answer
that
that.
הוא יודע איך הראש שלנו עובד.
Beautiful.
אתה תנצל את כל השטח עד הסוף,
So
אתה לא
what the
נשאיר
Gemara
את
is
זה.
going to answer is,
זה מה שאני אומר, מה החשש של רב? שאולי
זה מה
הבן
שהוא
אדם יבוא
עושה,
במצב שיגיד, מה זה משנה 2 טפחים, 3 טפחים, 5
אתה
טפחים?
תיסחף למלא את
בסוף
כל
הוא
השטח.
יעבור על הכל וזה הכל.
Exactly.
אין לו
the
את ה-
Gemara is going to explain the etzim that should be allowed. Again, because they're going in different
כן.
directions. You have the alakson,
זה כמו
it's all
גזירה
good, it's
כזאת,
beautiful.
זה כמו גזירה.
Problem is,
שמא יבוא.
once you start doing that, what's going to happen? You'll fill in the whole length of the side. And then it really will be a problem. Let's read that inside.
פתחת פתח.
Right. Answers the Gemara, Peyam Abed, Gzera Shema Yimale et HaKranot. You'll end up filling in the corners as well.
איפה אנחנו?
Meaning, Peyam Abed. So the Gemara says, the reason Rav doesn't allow you to do it in that staggering way, which be'etzem should be mutar, like we explained, it's Gezerah Shema Imale et HaKranot. It's a decree because once you start setting it up in a way that there's 8 patches around it, even though it's done b'derech heter, you're going to accidentally or by some way fill in the entire length of the sides, and then it's going to be a kil'ayin issue because they're within 3 tefachim. Okay, fine. That's the answer. Say Gezerah Shema Imale et HaKranot. That's what Rashi says. You look at Rashi, גזירה שם ימלא ואחר כך היא זרה בחברתה, עץ לגבול מתוכה, כאשר זרה אמצעית, לא ישים לליבו ערבוב של 2 הערוגות. The problem is, you're going to make a mistake. So what does Rav say? B'kitzur, what's the shita of Rav? You gotta stay away from this. If you're filling in 5 minim in one patch, you have to make sure there's 3 tvachim on all sides. There's no way you could do it where you set up the arugot around.
I like it.
That's it. Because otherwise you start setting it up in this technical, mathematical way. It's emet, it's mutar. Problem is, what ends up happening then is you're going to make a mistake.
Too much to be careful of. It's too much of thinking and planning and to be aware about everything.
אם לא תשמור נגיעה, אם לא תשמור מרחק 4 אמות, תגיע למצב גם שלא תשמור נגיעה.
בדיוק.
It's the same thing with הכליים. העצים שומרים נגיעה.
Says the Gemara. Oh, but now we have something that's called Rosh Tur. Rosh Tur is the tip of the field. Rosh Tur Yerek. It's the tip of the, how do you say? The tip of the
top. הצמרת.
The furrow. The tip of the furrow, they translate?
Tell him.
Yeah. The tip of the corner furrow. Okay. So let me just explain this outside and then we'll see it inside. The Gemara is about to quote, there's a Mishnah in Masechet Kilayim. And the Mishnah says like this. If you have a field full of vegetables, okay, it's a big field, let's say, full of vegetables. Now, what happens sometimes is, at the corner of the field, you'll have some of the vegetables that protrude into another field.
Okay.
What we're going to say is that's not a problem at all.
Because there is a significant distance.
You look at it and you see
nobody planned it like that.
You're not trying to plant it together. Meaning clearly you have carrots or whatever, I don't know, melons.
It's off the way. It's off the way. The
cucumbers.
Clear.
The point is clearly there's a field next to another field, and you're not trying to do kilayim. So the Gemara's question that we're going to ask is, Rav, why are you so makbid that you might? We know that the halacha is if you have something in the corner and it protrudes into another field or into another row, we're not so worried about it. Just taseh kacha, like you're saying, and don't be so worried. What's the big chashash that you have, really? Do it like this. It's nikar. You have one going here in this patch, another one in this patch. It's clearly different. The same way we're not worried by Rosh Tor, like that case where one is protruding, it's like a triangle, because one is protruding out. We also shouldn't be worried in this case. Why are you so concerned? Says the Gemara. But it should be the same as the tip of a vegetable furrow. Didn't we learn in the Mishnah Kilayim? Okay, you have a field full of melons, and at an angle, something is protruding out into another field of cucumbers. Mutar, it's not a problem. Because you see the end of the field. You see there's clearly 2 different fields. It's nikar that these are 2 different minim, and you're not doing kilayim. So what's the reason you don't say the same kula over here? So the Gemara answers, Ein Rosh Tor ba'aruga. You cannot use the leniency of Rosh Tor when it comes to an aruga. And this was what you were asking before. This is the answer. When you have a large field, a large field, okay, and then next to it there's another field, or there's just one patch, whatever it is. There's clearly a large field. So if there's from that field some vegetables going into another field, it's nikar that we don't have a kilayim issue because something is so bolet, it's a huge field. Yeah. But here we're talking about little aruga, little space, 6 by 6 tvachim, next to 6 by 6 tvachim. It's not so obvious that these are separate pieces, that these are separate areas. So you cannot use the heter like we're saying there, it's nikar, like you're using it here. There it's obvious, there's a big field. Here it's not so obvious, you have small patches. So memele, you cannot rely on that leniency, and therefore Rav says bechorba, it has to be actually separated by a significant distance. Say that. Zashita sharav. Do you have to go? I don't want to hold you if you have to go.
But
let's just do Shmuel.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But we do have some fruits today that are mixed.
What do you mean?
Like yesterday, for example, I spoke about with my wife, she told me, and in בעברית, there is a fruit called afar-shezif. Okay. It's a mix of afar-sek and shezif.
These are grafted, they grafted together.
זה כליים.
זה לא כליים?
כליים, כן. מותר לאכול את זה. אפילו שיהודי עשה את זה.
You didn't do it, first of all, you didn't do it. אתה לא עשית את זה. וגם
אין עם זה בעיה?
לא, וגם צריך לבדוק אם זה נוגע בחוץ לארץ.
לא, אבל אם אנחנו גרים בארץ, and they import it from, את גוי דידי הכליים.
I don't know if it's a sur. I don't know, I have to check. Double
אני
check.
חושב, ראיתי פעם שהרב דומה, אפילו שיהודי עשה את זה, מותר לאכול את זה.
כן, כן.
Because there is
היהודי
Jesus.
הוא עשה עבירה, אבל אחרי שנוצר הפרי, בכל זאת זה השם עשה את זה, כאילו בשורה התחתונה.
שומע.
עובדיה עונה על זה.
Let's finish up here. That was Rav. Okay, so this is all within the Shita of Rav. Okay, so Bekitzer, what's Rav saying? If you're going to put 5 minim in this small area, first of all, you cannot do it in the formation, like we said, of staggering it, because ultimately you might end up filling it up. It's a gezerah. That's what he's saying. Why don't we say Rosh Tor is mutar like by fields? Fields are nikar. It's a large thing. This is not nikar. It's a small thing. Therefore, you cannot use this netter. The Shmuel Amar Shmuel is cholek and Rav. Shmuel says, Aruga ben arugot shaninu. No. Pshat in our Mishnah is you had one in the middle and then 8 patches around it. It's not a problem. So the Gemara says, not a problem. But 1 second. The problem is they're going to mix into each other. So the Gemara answers, you do it in the karnot, you do it in a staggering way, like we were saying before. Benota shura lekan v'shura lekan. One row tilts in one direction, and the other one tilts in the other direction. So Shmuel holds, actually, this kasha, we're trying to say, why don't you hold it this route? He holds you could do that, and he doesn't hold there's a gezerah. This is how Rashi learns b'pashtut. So it comes out, actually, the machloket Rav and Shmuel is, are you allowed to use this scenario where, again, you have the alakson, and it's staggered in this way, like we explained. Rav says, even though that's be'etzem mutar, because they're going in different directions, and even the ones that are parallel has an angle, so it's not a problem. There's a gezerah, you might end up filling it in. Shmuel says, no, you could do that. No problem. You could do that. We're not worried of gezerah. Gezerah is the next step. We don't have to go there. That's not necessary. Okay, we can stop here if we need to.
Let's do a little bit more because what we can do.
Okay, fine.
I don't feel satisfied yet.
Yeah, yeah, no,
10:31.
yeah, we have one more piece. We get there. Fine. Is that the
שמחה לי.
לא, מה נעשה? שהשם יעזור, נספיק
Okay,
את זה.
this is a small piece.
זה למשטרה ההזמנה הזאת.
Is that the shit?
פוליס דיפרטמנט.
Yeah, is that the shit? That's it? Like a police department?
ההזמנה, האוכל, הפוליס דיפרטמנט.
Oh,
The
really?
food, they have meeting, rabbi meeting today.
אוקיי.
Okay, here.
צריך לעשות את זה נייס.
Okay, is that the shit?
בסדר, נו, בוא
Let's finish
נלמד.
up a little bit here.
זה לא
תן
קרה.
שלום
Next
במלכות.
step. Listen to the next step here, Shifman. This is the next step. Now we're done with this,
אבל
okay?
תתוודע למלכות.
סיימנו את העניין. Moving on now.
זהו?
זהו, זה כל
אז אמרנו ששמואל מקל רב
מה
מחמיר.
באמת אבל ההלכה תכלס?
הלכה, I don't know, I have to double
אוקיי,
check.
מחר.
בדירשו
I
בטח.
can check.
אחר כך.
I can
Okay.
check, I can check. Bekitza, what comes out is that Rav does not hold. You're allowed to use the setup like we explained. It has to be separated from other
חושש
patches.
שמא.
אז מחלוקת רב
Which is
ושמואל.
gezerah. Shmuel seems to be saying that we're not worried about that gezerah, and you could set it up that way of ben arugot. That's the point. What's the halacha? Let's see.
We spoke about it anyway. I think that it's הלכה כרב. אמרנו there is only 3 different things. רב ושמואל, there is that it's going like שמואל. אתה זוכר?
לא.
שהיה, נכון הרב? אני לא טועה.
מה זה?
Maybe I'm wrong.
שאנחנו פוסקים כמו רב.
פוסקים כמו רב, and there is only 3 different things. אחד מהם היה עם נרות חנוכה. אין ביזוי מצווה.
I'm remembering a little bit what you're saying, כן.
שלרוב אתה הולך לפי רב ולא לפי שמואל.
אני זוכר שדיברנו.
אתה זוכר שהיה ביזוי מצווה עם הלכות?
זוכר, אבל לא...
מעניין, לא אומר פסק. I'm just looking here, I see the bet, oh no, there's a letter on both, I don't know. I have to look it up inside.
אוקיי, בוא נתקדם עוד קצת בעזרת השם.
בעזרת השם. Okay, let's move on here.
אמרנו לה.
עכשיו, we have a story like this. You have your field with your patch with 5 minim, okay? 5 minim shonim.
Okay.
Now let's learn it like we learned in the Mishnah Mitchila. Everyone understand, it's really a little bit of a kasha because Rav came up with this new thing where you fill in the sides. The etzim, the way we learned Pshat in the Mishnah, you didn't fill in the sides. We had the 5 minim like this, 1 min on each side, and in the middle. This is how we learned Pshat in the Mishnah. Chashav. What happened was, a person dug a ditch. A ditch. מה זה ditch? Like a
גומה.
hole.
גומה.
Guma, a ditch through, they cut through. And it's 1 tefach deep, let's say. 1 tefach deep. It's a significant amount deep. Through the field, and he filled that up with a 6th min. Min
Sixth what?
shishi. Min shishi. He dug a ditch and he filled it in with a 6th min.
איפה?
Like I just did. He dug a little ditch across the field, and he filled that in with a 6th min.
How deep?
Say tefach deep. I think that's what Tosfot explains over here. So tefach deep. Okay. So now the question is like this. We have two extremes that we could possibly look at this. Do we say it ruins the whole thing? Because now you have this parallel, mamish parallel, and therefore you're going to ruin the ability to put in the 5 minim like we said before. Now you have a kilayim problem.
But it doesn't ruin everything.
Or do we say,
the top first.
Really, there's a heker, there's some sort of a distinction. Why is there a heker? Because it's deep in the ground. So there's some sort of a separation here, and you could argue it shouldn't aser it shouldn't prohibit this situation.
But think about it. Later it's gonna grow.
I hear what you're saying.
Once it's sitting inside, no problem. When one is gonna grow, it's to have roots and give all. Then it's gonna look very close. You're not gonna see when you look like that. You don't see the when it's coming from the bottom. Doesn't make it look like the same.
Listen to the way. Yeah. Okay. We can look at Rashi. We'll take a look at Rashi, but listen to how the Dirshu explains like this. Aruga sheyesh ba hefeshe gova.
הפרשי גובה.
כגון שחפר חריץ בערוגה. האם הפרש הגובה של החריץ משאר הערוגה מהווה הכר והבדל משאר הערוגה? שיהיה מותר להוסיף ולזרוע בעומק החריץ שורה נוספת של זרעונים מאחד מחמשת המינים, או אפילו ממין שישי, למרות שאין ביניהם שיעור הרחקה הנדרש של 3 טפחים. Means tachlis, it's not 3 טפחים, but it's a height difference. So maybe you could argue now it should be מותר.
אז מה אומר?
That's what we're going to see. זה השאלה. זה במחלוקת. We'll see. So let's see. says the Gemara, Amar Ula, באו במערבה, הם שאלו בארץ ישראל, מערבה זה ב-west, because Bavel was east of Eretz Yisrael. The west is Eretz Yisrael. So שאלו בארץ ישראל, הפקיע תלם אחד על פני כולה, מהו? הפקיע means you tore open, you cut open a ditch through the field, through the patch really, it's a small patch. Mahu, what's going to be the halacha? Is it permitted to put a 6 min there? Or are we going to say, no, now you're making kilayim problem? Does the difference of height cause it to be nikar as something else? Or do we say, no, that's a problem of kilayim? Machloket. Amrav Sheshet, ba'irvuv u'bitelet hashura. It ruined the heter we had before of 5 minim. Because now you have a min, even though it's lower, it's not as high, but it's parallel to another one within 3 tfachim, and that's asur, that's a problem. Rav Ashi Amar, ein eruvo, yeshcha asi?
Asi.
Manyan, yesh li Ashi. On the side, some people change it, but that's interesting. 1 second. Yesh li Ashi.
לא, אחר כך יש תבר, כשנו רבנו רב אשי.
רב אשי אמר, אין עירובו מבטל את השורה.
איזה מיספלינג.
No, I think you actually might be right, it might be Asi. But Rav Asi אמר, אין עירובו מבטל את השורה. It doesn't ruin it. And he says why? Because the height makes it that it's nikar. It's not looked at as one irbuv, and therefore it's going to be mutar.
Okay.
Let's just finish up.
But it's not going in the same ground?
But it's lower. Since it's lower, it's looked at as separate above, not as kilayim, so you don't have to worry about the yanikah.
אבל אם רב אמר לך, תרחיק 3 טפחים, פה אתה ביחד עם זה, לא ת...
So that's the whole thing. If on the surface it looks different, we're not choshesh for the yanikah.
But you're going to end up that you're going to mix everything if this is mutar.
Wait a second. Rabashi, you're saying this is mutar. It doesn't ruin the field. I'm going to show you Mishnah Kilayim. That seems to say it should. Yesh Mishnah Kilayim that should say this ruins it. Because the Mishnah Kilayim says, Anotea shtei shurot shel kishuim. Yesh chamishu that he plants 2 rows of cucumbers. Shtei shorot shel diluim, 2 rows of gourds, pumpkins. Shtei shorot shel pula mitzri, 2 rows of mitzri bean. Now he plants them all within 3 tfachim of each other.
No,
so you don't have the but they're parallel to each other. So they're next to each other. But there's not 3 tfachim separating them. But it's 2, 2, 2. Evanta sheeshcha 2 rows of cucumber. 2 rows of pumpkin, 2 rows of beans. And there's a ditch between them.
So the ditch separate them.
So now mutar. This is mutar.
It's going to be significant change.
It's not 3 tfachim separating. למה זה מותר?
הדיץ' באמצע.
למה זה מותר? מה אכפת לנו הדיץ'? It's within 3 טווחים.
Once I have 2 of cucumbers, zucchinis, whatever, 2 of pumpkin, 2, I can, even my eye can see the differences.
Oh, beautiful. That's the difference. The difference is, if you have 2 rows of something, it's bolet. Since you have 2 rows, it's bolet as something separated. And therefore, we're not, exactly, and we're not worried about the Nika underground. Beautiful. But says the Mishnah in Kil'ayim, Shura achat shel kishum, Shura achat shel diluim, Shura achat shel pola mitzri. If it's just 1 row, and there's some separation, but it's within 3 tvachim, they're asur. Why is it asur?
That's why it's a part for Avasi.
Why is it asur?
You won't be able to do AFD.
Beautiful. So the kasha we're asking now is, this is cutting through, it's within 3 tvachim, it's only 1 line of this vegetable. So it should really rule the field. It's not 2 rows, kasha novashi. Exactly.
So maybe the height, like you said?
Oh no, but we said there's a ditch between.
But here there is no ditch, or there is a ditch.
That's the point, we're saying there's a ditch here.
Wait, here, in this patch?
Separate.
There you go, I want to make that clear. Is it, where there's 1, is there a ditch between that? There you go.
No, separate. 1 tray, 1 9 by 13 rice, 9 by 13 French fries, chicken, todo separate. Dame 3 pan rice, 3 pan, 2 limon.
Azanakuda. What's the point? The point is that 1 row does not consider separate, so it should really ask you to feel. That's the point.
That's the kasha Ravasi.
The Gemara answers, the Mishnah in Kil'ayim is different. Why? Te'ika sha'acha. Mishnah in Kil'ayim, when it talks about kishuim, diluim, and pola mitzri, these are plants that have a lot of leaves. So there's going to be a lot of entanglement, that's what it is. Meaning to say is like this, these are plants that they grow and they have a lot of leaves. It's natural the leaves are going to grow together. So there, if you have 1 line of the vegetable, it really does look like it's all mixing together. Masha'en came in the case that we were discussing, if you have a ditch of some sort and you plant in there, assuming it's not something that grows together, that wouldn't be visible as mixing together, and therefore that would be.
But how you can guarantee what they're going to plant inside?
So no, that's enachinami. It would have to be something. If you have the issue of entanglement, it would be the same problem.
But
other species. It would have to be that in the heter is only by other species.
So it's okay?
Only other species.
So
exactly.
It's okay?
It would be okay. According to Ravashi.
רבי, שאלה.
זה המחלוקת, exactly.
אני לא מצליח להבין משהו.
What do you not understand?
You said it's cross the minim.
Yeah.
It's cross. You're doing a ditch, but you cross the minim here. From the south to the west, to the east. To the north, סליחה. איך אין פה כלאיים?
איך אין פה כלאיים? Because it's ניכר, it's something else.
מה ניכר? It's in the same place.
It's ניכר, it's separated.
לא, באיפה שאתה נסם שמה.
Oh, no, I hear what you're saying.
It's על המינים ביחד איתם.
There has to be, no, you're right. There would have to be a separation here. No, I just did it as an illustration. There would have to be some sort of a separation. Can't be mamish touching, you're right. There would have to be some.
אם זה נוגע בדבר.
No, there would have to be a physical separation.
I understand the distance is maybe short, but if you are only together, ברור שזה ניכר שזה ביחד.
אוקיי, בעזרת השם.
יום טוב, חזקים וברוכים. רבי מחילה, יוחאי מחילה. נשמור אותך.
בעזרת השם, חבר'ה. Pick up tomorrow. בעזרת השם.
Beautiful.
So interesting.